There are numerous Chinese smartphone manufacturers these days, but Infinix is one you may not be familiar with. The company was founded only a decade ago and has primarily focused on Asian and African markets. Another device that will not be available in the West is an updated version of the Zero 5G for 2023, but that doesn't mean you should disregard it. With an estimated price of $240, the combination of premium performance specs, a large display, and triple rear cameras suggests it could be a real force among budget phones. In terms of performance, it's one of the most impressive phones you can buy for the price. However, some significant shortcomings in other areas make it difficult to recommend. Infinix has created a phone that, while not particularly innovative, manages to catch the eye. This is especially evident in its design, which resembles a premium handset despite the use of less expensive materials. Despite the reflective finish, the back of the phone is clearly plastic rather than glass. It makes the Zero 5G appear much cheaper than it is, but this is a wise compromise made by Infinix. Because it's made of plastic, it's less fragile and more durable than most premium handsets, to the point where you won't need to use the clear silicone case that comes with it, unless you want to. The white model I tested is also impervious to visible fingerprint smudges, though they may be more visible on the black model. A bright orange finish is also available if you prefer something more colorful. The rear camera has a slight bump, but Infinix has done an excellent job of blending it into the back of the phone. It doesn't protrude like some other phones, and it's still easy to use face up on a table. While the sides of the Zero 5G are also made of plastic, there are three key design elements here. The power button, which also functions as a physical fingerprint scanner, is arguably the most important. It's simple to set up, fast, and incredibly dependable, everything I could have hoped for. Some may consider it a step back from an under-display sensor, but these are hit or miss on budget phones due to cheap components. The SIM tray has two SIM card slots as well as a microSD card slot for storage expansion. Having the option for all three is unusual and a significant advantage for this phone. In terms of unique features, the Zero 5G includes a 3.5mm headphone jack. Even low-cost phones are abandoning them these days, but many people will appreciate the option for wired audio. Of course, glass is found on the front of the phone. Although there is a much thicker chin, the 6.78 inches display is housed within some impressively thin bezels. Infinix has chosen a central hole punch selfie camera for rapid unlocking with your face, but it is far less secure than the fingerprint sensor. This is a large phone, as the display size suggests. One-handed operation is nearly impossible, and the weight of 201 grams is not exactly light. However, given the competition on the big screen, this comes as no surprise. Let's get back to that 6.78 inches screen. The Zero 5G 2023 has a tall 20:9 aspect ratio thanks to its 1080 by 2460 IPS LCD panel. This is pretty standard for an Android phone these days, but it's still impressive given the phone's low starting price. Everything is sharp and detailed, with a vibrancy that makes scrolling through social media and watching videos especially enjoyable. The phone's navigation is fluid thanks to the 120Hz refresh rate. You can set it to 60 Hz to conserve battery life or an auto mode that switches between the two. The latter is the best option for the majority of people. Despite its 240 Hz touch sampling, the Zero 5G does not feel as responsive as many other phones I've tried. During testing, I achieved an impressive maximum brightness of 513 nits. Connecting headphones via the 3.5mm headphone jack or USB-C port is optional for casual use. Even at high volumes, the single downward-firing speaker provides clear and detailed audio. However, the bass is slightly lacking, and it's easy to cover with your hand in landscape mode. A large earpiece ensures good call quality, but it's a shame it can't also be used to play media. The Dimensity 1080 chipset from MediaTek powers the Infinix Zero 5G 2023. It's a step down from the flagship Dimensity 9000 series, but it's still intended for mid-range phones. Appearances in the Motorola Edge 30 Ultra and the Xiaomi 12T Pro provide an indication of its caliber, given that the Infinix costs around $240. Performance is much better than you'd expect from a budget handset, thanks to 8 GB of RAM on the only configuration available. It easily navigates web browsing, texting, and social media, and the display quality makes it ideal for watching videos. That impressively extends to gaming. Casual games were always going to be accessible, but the Zero 5G can also handle some of the most demanding games on the Google Play Store. Although the experience of playing Call of Duty Mobile or Asphalt 9 cannot quite compete with flagships or dedicated gaming phones, gameplay remained smooth and responsive throughout my testing period. Moving between tasks may cause some lag, and navigating menus isn't always the fastest. However, these appear to be software-related rather than performance-related. You'll be hard-pressed to find a more capable budget phone. This is reflected in our benchmark tests, where the Zero 5G performs well in comparison to similarly priced phones. The Dimensity 1080 chipset supports 5G, as well as Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2, and GPS. However, because there is no NFC, the phone cannot be used for Google Pay. Most people will be fine with the 256 GB of storage on board. If you require more storage, the Zero 5G supports microSD card expansion up to 256 GB. Few people will require anything more than this, and it's a great option to have. The Infinix Zero 5G 2023 has triple rear cameras, as do many modern smartphones. However, this masks the fact that the hardware has been downgraded in comparison to the 2022 model. The main sensor has been upgraded to 50 from 48 megapixel, but the 13 megapixel telephoto lens has been replaced by a meager 2 megapixel macro. A third 2 megapixel depth camera is still available, but you'll be relying on just one sensor the majority of the time. As a result, the Zero 5G is less versatile in terms of photography than many phones, including many low-cost models. I don't mind not having a telephoto lens, but the lack of an ultra-wide sensor is more difficult to accept. If you regularly take landscape or group photos, you will miss it as well. This is a pity, because the rest of the camera experience is excellent for the price. The 50 megapixel main sensor produces photos with good dynamic range and clarity. It has some exposure issues, but the colors are generally accurate and true to life. It usually performs best without those other lenses when there is a clear subject in the shot. Buildings and statues were particularly impressive, with the depth sensor enabling an appealing portrait-style background blur. Even if you won't use it often, close-up shots with the macro lens provide excellent detail. A software-based night mode does an excellent job of brightening the image while preserving important details. A 16 megapixel selfie camera on the front is also very good, though you should disable the beauty mode that is enabled by default. There's even a portrait mode using software only, though it struggles with the common issue of edge detection. You can record video in up to 4K resolution at 30 frames per second. Most people will be fine with the default 1080p at 30 frames per second, but the lack of image stabilization means that footage with any movement does not look steady at all. A 5000 mAh battery powers the Zero 5G 2023. It's a respectable capacity, but one we've come to expect from modern phones. According to some tests, it performs well, with an above-average time of 10 hours and 48 minutes in PC Mark's battery test. That aims to simulate real-world usage through a variety of scenarios, but my experience was less than stellar. Because of the large display and the 120 Hz refresh rate, it depleted much faster, to the point where a full day's usage was only just within reach. Although this included a lot of mobile data, high brightness, and GPS, I was still expecting more. These concerns are only relevant if you use your phone for several hours per day. You can end the evening with a charge to spare if you use less power. If you do run out of power, a 33-watt USB-C adapter is included in the box. Even though it's lower than many competitors these days, this is still considered fast charging. I recorded 22% in 15 minutes and 42% in half an hour from off, with a full charge taking just under 90 minutes. There is no wireless charging, but that is still uncommon on low-cost phones. The Zero 5G 2023 is powered by Infinix's OS 12 skin on top of Android 12. Unfortunately, the software experience is the primary reason for not purchasing the phone. It's a significant departure from Android's so-called stock version, and not in a good way. The oversized app folders are one of the first things you'll notice, with a suggestions one on the home screen simply showing 4 of your recently used apps. When you turn on the phone, it cycles through various emojis. There's also a lot of bloatware, which are pre-installed apps that you'll probably never use but can't get rid of. This includes the Palm Store, which provides nothing useful that isn't also available on the Play Store. Notifications, like Xiaomi's MIUI, appear from the top left, while quick settings require a swipe from the top right. However, navigating both is far from intuitive. There is a significant learning curve, even if you are already familiar with Android. As disconcerting as this software experience is, it is possible to eventually tweak it to your liking and hide the majority of the annoying apps. However, it is still a significant step down from the majority of other Android skins. Another real concern is software support, with no specific commitment from Infinix. That means it'll be the standard 2 years, putting it far behind the leading Android manufacturers these days. What about an Android 13 update? There is currently no word on when the Zero 5G 2023 will receive it. Infinix is usually one of the last companies to release a significant new version of Android for its phones. Infinix does not specify how much the Zero 5G 2023 will cost in the West, but this is unimportant given that the phone will not be available there. The company's rough price of $239 for 8 GB of RAM and 256 GB of storage is reasonable and places it squarely in the budget phone category. Check to see if you can purchase one through the Infinix website, where you can select a country. Few competitors can compete on performance at this price with the Zero 5G 2023, but several offer a more well-rounded experience, including longer battery life and superior software. The Infinix Zero 5G 2023 gets a lot of things right, but flaws in key areas will make you reconsider purchasing one. The excellent performance of MediaTek's Dimensity 1080, a chip typically found in much more expensive phones, is one of the highlights. There's a lot to like here, including an excellent 120Hz display and an impressive 50-megapixel main camera. However, the mediocre battery life and poor software experience are difficult to overlook, and its lack of other lenses limits its photography potential. There's no reason to go out of your way to buy one since it's not available in the West. However, if you live in a country where it is available, the Zero 5G 2023 is still a viable option.